Thanks very much again, everyone. And first of all, my thanks as well to all of you participating today in what was a very focused, but I think perhaps very effective process today. And want to thank all of those who've participated directly, but particularly a lot of the people who are here as support staff and facilitators, working the IT systems, working the video, making sure that today was possible. And we're very grateful for that. I want everyone who has taken part in this to know that your input, your advice, your expertise is important to government. We're not just doing this for the sake of it or to tick any boxes. What you're saying does matter, and it does make a difference, and it will help to shape this plan. Having listened to some of the feedback, your suggestions and viewpoints have been captured and will form the finalisation of the plan over the next few weeks. An email address has been given to you as well, so the opportunity is there to send in further ideas, more information, perhaps more statistics and so on, backing up some of the cases that you've made today, and that is very welcome. As we know, the plan is being developed against a backdrop of real uncertainty with Brexit and with COVID. What we do know is that there won't be a return to the pre-pandemic normal. There aren't that many events that really are life-changing or change the world, but I think this pandemic is one of those. It's a time that we're going to tell our children and grandchildren about, the year when we all stayed at home. So what we need to construct is a new normal, and to make sure that that new normal is a better normal. The pandemic has accelerated some deep structural shifts that were already in train, particularly when it comes to automation, digitalisation and the carbon transition. And it's also thrown into sharp focus some of the structural weaknesses and vulnerabilities in the Irish economy and in our society that we always knew were there, but perhaps have been exposed so obviously in this pandemic. Particularly the significant divide between labour-intensive and domestic sectors and the knowledge-intensive, high-value-added international focus sectors. The pandemic and its effects pose big questions about our economic approach, such as Ireland's economic model, in a post-pandemic world that may not be as open and interconnected as it was heretofore. Questions about the role and size of the state, the ability to fund that, and also the future role of our cities as drivers of economic activity. For centuries all around the world, we've seen the drift to the cities. Perhaps this is the pandemic that changes that. I know as well that younger people in particular have been harmed by the pandemic. It's older people that have lost their lives in large numbers, but older people, or younger people rather, have been harmed in other ways. Major disruption to education, disproportionately high job losses among younger workers. Their social networks and relationships have been disrupted too. For people in their 20s, they've experienced 2 severe recessions in a relatively short lifetime. So our labour market policies are going to have to focus on ensuring that younger people can return to employment and to reach their potential. And investment in education and skills will be prioritised as a critical driver for future growth and prosperity. The National Economic Plan will set out the pathways to a new economy of the future. The challenge of restructuring is as real as the imperative of recovery itself. So the plan will set out where we want to be post-crisis, the longer-term policies to get us there, while ensuring that our short-term responses to the pandemic and Brexit are consistent with those longer-term goals. Ireland has come through the initial economic shock, the first wave, with unparalleled levels of state intervention, aimed at stabilising the economy, protecting business, employment and incomes, and ensuring social solidarity. Our objective is to ensure that we build a future that is sustainable and fair, built on resilient, innovative enterprises spread across all regions, with an agile workforce and improved quality of life and well-being for all of our citizens. A future that can withstand future shocks. These goals have informed the topics which you've considered today and your thoughts on the shape of Ireland's economy of the future. And we've heard some really interesting insights on the importance of innovation, how to accelerate digitalisation and technology adoption, the need for further linkages and clusters, a real strong focus on education and skills, ideas around sustainable growth, the challenges that face our SMEs, particularly our domestic sector, increasing startup activity and scaling our enterprises, and also the importance of remaining competitive and competing for investment in a global environment that is changing rapidly. Your contributions are going to be a really big help to us in the coming weeks as we plot a pathway to a post-COVID economy. Out of crisis comes opportunity for reform and renewal. And having recovered from the massive economic shock in 2008, our economy entered this crisis in a strong position with close to full employment and a budget in surplus. Businesses all around the country have stepped up to the challenges of COVID-19, and some have availed of the opportunities to innovate and diversify and adapt. Technology-intensive sectors in particular have benefited from more rapid adoption of new platforms as economic activity shifted from the physical to virtual. The quest for real vaccines, therapeutics, prophylaxis diagnostics, and improved medical devices in response to COVID-19 has provided innovation and diversification opportunities for the life science sector. Generating economic value from technology and knowledge will be increasingly important in the post-COVID world. I know this has not been possible for all sectors, and many businesses, particularly those that are contact intensive, such as travel and tourism and hospitality, have been really badly affected. We're managing some really difficult and cruel trade-offs to allow our economy to operate as fully and effectively as possible and to minimise the permanent loss of economic activity, scarring, while living safely with COVID-19. The CRIS, the COVID Restrictions Support Scheme, has been introduced to help businesses which are severely restricted to meet the ongoing costs through the period of restriction. Applications will open this week, and there will be a weekly grant to businesses that are closed by government order to help them cover the fixed costs of staying closed. In addition, the Employment Wage Subsidy Scheme has been enhanced considerably, and I'm appealing again to employers to keep your staff on for the next 4, 6, 8 weeks. The money is there for you to do so. In the long term, the future composition of the Irish economy is going to look different. Things always change over time, and this will be no different. It might just happen a bit faster. We know that perhaps 20, 30, 40% of the jobs that exist today may not exist in 5 or 10 or 20 years' time. But there will be new jobs and new occupations and new businesses, and we need to make sure that we're ready for that. The plan is going to focus on economic, social and environmentally sustainable growth, as envisaged in the programme for government, and it includes paving the way for us to make the twin transition, which will be digital and green, once we overcome these twin crises of Brexit and COVID. In measuring our overall progress, we'll focus not just on economic growth, but on broader indices which capture the goals of social and environmental progress as well, and giving our nation and people a sense of well-being. Over the medium term, our expectation is that with the right set of policies, we'll be on the other side of this crisis and well into recovery mode next year. So thanks again for your time, your contributions, and for helping to shape the policies that will set our country on the right track to a better future. Thank you very much once again, and I formally declare this session closed.